If you could understand just one subtle shift in your dog's emotional world, your whole relationship might feel calmer and easier. It doesn't require dramatic training or strict rules, just a new way of noticing the moments your dog has been trying to communicate all along. Once you begin to see those moments clearly, the confusion and frustration on both sides start to fade. And the connection you already have begins to deepen in a very natural way. In this video, I want to share a quiet insight that many people overlook, but every dog wishes you knew. If that sounds like something you'd like to grow into, I'd love for you to like the video and subscribe so we can explore together. Number 1. Feeding around exercise and bloat risk. It's unsettling to realize how easily a normal routine like feeding your dog after a long run can turn into something dangerous. You might see your dog panting happily, ready for a meal, and never imagine what that combination of movement, air intake, and a heavy stomach can actually do inside their body. Deep-chested dogs are especially vulnerable, but the truth is that any dog with a loose, jostled stomach can face risks you can't see from the outside. When the stomach is still shifting from vigorous activity, adding weight from food or too much water can make twisting more likely, and the signs often come too late. Giving their body time to settle before or after exercise becomes a quiet act of protection, something small that makes a bigger difference than it seems. And once you start paying attention to how your dog recovers from excitement, you begin to notice how much calmer and safer their whole routine feels. Number 2. Toxic foods and emergency response. Grapes and raisins can shut down a dog's kidneys with no warning. It's frightening because they look so harmless, and most people don't realize how unpredictable a dog's reaction can be until it's too late. One dog might eat a single raisin and spiral into crisis, while another seems completely fine. And that uncertainty leaves you second-guessing every snack left on the counter. What makes it even harder is that the symptoms don't always appear right away. So a dog can seem normal while internal damage quietly begins. That's why checking foods for hidden raisins and acting immediately if your dog eats even a small amount becomes less about panic and more about giving them the best chance to recover. And once you've seen how quietly a situation like this can unfold, you start looking at everyday treats with a different kind of care. Number 3. Leash pulling and collar damage. I still remember watching a dog cough into his collar as he pulled toward a scent, and it made me wonder how often we mistake that sound for excitement instead of strain. You don't realize how much pressure builds against a dog's throat in those moments, or how the tension spreads through the neck into sensitive places they can't protect. Over time, that repeated tugging can quietly irritate the trachea, stress the thyroid, and even increase pressure behind the eyes. And none of it looks dramatic enough for you to notice right away. What's painful is that the dog isn't trying to be difficult. They're just responding to the world while their body absorbs the cost. A harness changes that dynamic in a soft, almost unremarkable way, taking the weight off fragile areas without the harshness of prong or choke collars that add even more fear and discomfort. And once you see how much easier your dog breathes, you start to realize how many walks were more stressful for them than they ever let on. Number 4. Yelling and miscommunication. A calmer way of communicating with your dog can change the entire atmosphere of your home. It's easy to forget how differently dogs process moments of frustration, especially when we react long after the behavior has already happened. They don't connect the raised voice to the earlier action, so all they feel is the sudden shift in your energy and the fear that follows. And when that fear shows up enough times, it quietly chips away at their trust, leaving them more stressed, more confused, and even more vulnerable to illness. Positive reinforcement may seem gentle, almost too simple, but it gives your dog a way to understand you without bracing for the impact of your tone or the chaos of an aggressive training environment. And as the tension fades from their body, you start noticing how much softer their eyes look when they finally feel safe learning from you, instead of hiding from your reactions. Number 5. Obesity and health consequences. And once you notice how much tension your dog carries, you can't help but wonder what else their body has been quietly holding. It's unsettling to realize how often extra weight slips on so slowly that you only see it when your dog starts moving differently, breathing harder, or hesitating before a jump they used to love. Those small changes feel easy to dismiss, yet inside their body, the strain builds on joints, organs, and systems that were never meant to carry so much. Extra fat creates inflammation that makes every step heavier, and over time, it can shorten their lifespan in ways that feel heartbreakingly preventable. Paying attention to their body shape, their waistline, their ribs under your hand becomes less about appearances and more about noticing the subtle signals they rely on you to interpret. And when you gently adjust their food or add a few more minutes of movement each day, you start to see their energy return in a way that reminds you who they were before the weight ever slowed them down. Number 6. Water bowl hygiene. It's uncomfortable to admit, but a dog's water bowl can become one of the dirtiest objects in the entire house. You refill it because you love them, but the moment their tongue touches the water, tiny bits of saliva and food begin to swirl around, settling into a film you barely notice until it's already clinging to the sides. That film grows into a sticky layer of bacteria, and every time your dog returns for another drink, they're tasting a little more of what's been sitting there. It doesn't make them sick overnight, but over time, their body works harder than it should to fight off the constant cycle of contamination. Changing the water often and washing the bowl daily becomes a small ritual of care, especially when you use stainless steel or ceramic bowls that don't trap odors or microbes. And when you see how eagerly your dog drinks from a clean bowl, you start to realize how much those quiet habits shape their comfort in the simplest parts of their day. Number 7. Dental health neglect. Have you ever noticed how quietly a dog learns to hide mouth pain? They chew a little slower, turn their head at just the right angle, or walk away from a toy they used to love without making a sound. Most of the time, you don't realize these tiny changes are signs of dental disease, something so common that it affects more dogs than people like to believe. When bacteria from the gums slip into the bloodstream, it doesn't just stay in the mouth. It drifts toward the heart, the liver, the kidneys, placing a hidden weight on parts of their body you never get to see. Regular brushing and professional cleanings may feel like chores, but they cut through that silent suffering in a way nothing else can, with dental chews helping only as gentle support. And once you see your dog eating more comfortably, breathing more easily, and looking at you with a loosened jaw instead of guarded tension, you start to understand how much of their happiness lives in places they can't explain. Number 8. Winter paw protection. I watched a dog lift his paw off the icy ground, trying to shake off the burn from the salt. And it struck me how harsh winter feels on a body that can't tell you where it hurts. At first glance, it just looks like a quick flinch, but the chemicals on sidewalks can sting like fire, slipping into tiny cracks in the skin your dog never knew were there. And when they get home and instinctively lick their paws, those same chemicals move from irritation to something far more dangerous as they travel through the body. The salt crystals themselves can grind between their toes, creating raw spots that make every step feel just a little more painful, even though most dogs keep walking as if nothing's wrong. Using booties or a soft layer of paw wax becomes less about gear and more about giving them a shield, something that lets them explore winter without bracing for its bite, along with a simple rinse and dry when you return home. And once you start noticing the relief in the way they walk, you realize how many winters they endured without any way to tell you what it really felt like. Number 9. Heat risks and car safety. A parked car can become deadly for a dog long before it feels dangerous to you. You step out for a quick errand, thinking the shade or a cracked window will hold the heat back, while inside the temperature climbs faster than any dog's body can handle. Their cooling system is built on slow, gentle panting, and when the air around them turns thick and hot, that system collapses in minutes without showing you the early signs. By the time heat stroke sets in, their organs and brain are already fighting a battle they can't explain, and the silence of it all makes it even harder to accept. A running AC isn't always reliable either, because one mechanical glitch or stalled airflow can turn the car into an oven before anyone notices. And when you understand how quickly that danger grows, you start realizing that stepping in, calling for help, finding the owner, or contacting authorities isn't dramatic at all, but simply the response you'd hope someone else would choose for your dog. Number 10. Misinterpreting fear reactions. It's strange how often people label a fearful dog as stubborn, when the truth is almost the opposite. You see a dog freeze, tremble, or pull away, and instead of recognizing fear, the moment gets framed as defiance or disrespect. That misunderstanding can turn a scared dog into one who feels punished for emotions they can't control. And the shame or scolding that follows only pushes them deeper into confusion. When fear is met with calm reassurance instead of frustration, their whole body softens in a way that shows you what they needed all along. Creating a space where they feel safe to retreat, observe, and breathe becomes an act of guidance rather than correction. And for some dogs, support from a veterinarian or behavior specialist becomes part of that safety net. And once you start seeing fear for what it truly is, you realize how many moments weren't behavioral problems at all, but quiet requests for understanding. Number 11. Skin care, freedom needs, bone safety, and behavior changes. I once watched a dog step back the moment a familiar shampoo bottle came out, and it made me wonder how often we mistake quiet discomfort for cooperation. Human products feel gentle to us, but on a dog's skin, they can disrupt a delicate balance that keeps them protected, leaving them itchy, flaky, or quietly irritated for days. The same misunderstanding shows up when a dog never gets space to run freely, because their body is built for short bursts of freedom that a tight leash can't replace. Cooked bones create another hidden danger, splintering into sharp pieces that disappear down the throat long before a dog realizes something is wrong. And when their behavior starts to shift, when they hide more, sleep differently, or pull away from touch, it's often their only way of telling you that something inside doesn't feel right. Giving them room to express discomfort, to move their body the way it craves, and to avoid the silent risks we don't always see, becomes a quiet promise that their well-being matters just as much as their loyalty. By now, you can feel how these everyday choices hold more weight in your dog's world than you might have realized. And it's reassuring to know you don't have to be perfect, just present enough to notice what they're trying to show you. The simple truth is that your dog's well-being grows from the small, consistent moments when you choose understanding over habit. Letting yourself slow down and really see them makes their trust deepen in a quiet, unmistakable way. And that trust becomes even more meaningful when you start thinking about why your dog gravitates towards certain people with such devotion. There's a reason behind that bond, one that often surprises even lifelong dog lovers. If you're curious to understand the part of your dog's heart that chooses you, you can join me in the next video.